been to previous UW Jewish Studies events before, and they were really good. And I've also heard Dr. Messenger speak before, so I knew she was going to be really exciting to listen to, and AJWS is known as a great organization.
It's nice to know that there are organizations who are trying to circumvent those problems and actually provide aid. It's really wonderful to have the speakers come here and be able to listen to that conversation between them.
What was interesting is that we actually agreed about everything. I think you might have expected that there would be some more disagreement, but there really wasn't. Right. So, and I think that was interesting, because I think that people who are knowledgeable about issues of foreign aid in Africa really have come to a kind of, the really knowledgeable people, some kind of consensus.
Well, she had some really good perspectives on the disconnect between the role that NGOs are playing in terms of bringing aid to different countries and the effect that it's having in sort of dispersing the effectiveness of the monetary aid, because they are not necessarily investing in programs that are going to be successful, and also the fact that so much of the U.S. aid is ineffective because the food is being shipped from the United States to these African countries where food is often being produced.
Of every dollar of food aid that the United States provides, 65% goes to American shippers. So it's not even American farmers, which we agree are the large agribusiness multi-conglomerates. 65 cents of every dollar goes to shippers, and we are the last country in the world that is shipping food.
I thought it was interesting that there's actually not as much consensus within different African communities as we would think. There's a lot of tribal issues, there are sectarian issues that actually make solutions very elusive. And knowing that actually makes me favor the type of model that AJWS is doing, which is actually investing in existing successful models as opposed to throwing money at the problem or throwing bags of food at the problem.
One of the things that will make American aid better is if they're more informed. Your last example was hilarious, but more informed branches of civil society actually engaged in an active argument with American aid officials about what kinds of aid will make the most difference.
We don't always know better, and there isn't a formula that fits every case all the time. So pushing for elections right away may not always be a good idea. And you really do have to know what's going on in a society. In Kenya, they have an election coming up, and people there are scared because the last election, they were officially 1,100 people killed.
International aid is in fact being designed and promoted not only by people who are responsive to special interests, but by people who really think they know better than anybody else. And I think the Jewish teaching that everyone is equally made in the image of God means you should actually ask the farmers, the women farmers in northern Pakistan, what would make the most difference. That you should ask the people in Haiti what they want, and by the way, if you do that, they will all tell you, we don't want shelter, we don't want food, we just want work. Several hundred people who really wanted to be here seemed very interested in the issue. Second of all, I love the idea of doing it in a pairing with somebody I don't know who has his own perspectives on the issues. We actually turned out to agree a lot, which might have made less good television for you, but we actually loved the fact that coming from very different perspectives, we saw a lot of the issues in the same way. I think each of us learned from each other, which is the best you can possibly ask out of an evening. And the questions were great, so it shows that there's a lot of intellectual curiosity and interest from people in learning more about things they don't know, and in this particular case, in looking at it through a Jewish lens.
Foreign aid can kind of, the very term can kind of stifle fair discussion sometimes, especially college kids. They just want to help, and I think it's good to have a discussion where we can talk about the bad side of foreign aid, who else benefits, how to make foreign aid more effective by having a frank discussion about the way it is not right now.
AJWS, we're actually trying to focus our energies, and so we are doing all of this work around the world in sustainable agriculture because 1 out of every 7 people in the world goes to bed hungry every night, and a child, in fact, a child dies every 6 seconds from hunger or malnutrition in the world.
Working with young folks, students at University of Washington and other schools, J-Connectors, young Jewish adults in Seattle, and trying to turn these conversations, these complex issues, into things that we can act on.
I can tell you lots of other things you can do. Yes, you can pay attention to where your food comes from, where your clothing comes from. How many people here think they could stand up and tell me where every article of clothing that they're wearing was made? Okay, so that's another issue.
Everyone here benefits from undocumented migrant farm labor, and you all have a responsibility to do something about making the situation right.